Tracy with the Oasis for Natural Healing. So today, and I'm looking at two different computers or screens right now, but what I want to talk to you guys a little bit about today is about Lyme disease. So Lyme disease is, well, it's summer and there's lots of bugs going around, and you don't have to necessarily be bitten by a tick to get Lyme disease. Any biting insect can transmit Lyme, and especially mosquitoes. So you have regular Lyme, which is from the bug called Borrelia. It's a bacterium. But then you have what's called co-infections. These co-infections are like an insect can be infected with multiple bacterium and or parasites all at the same time. So a Lyme co-infection is other bacterium that hitch a ride in the same bug that that insect can also infect you with. And I want to talk about some of the symptoms because you don't necessarily have to have like the high fever or the bullseye rash in order to have been infected with Lyme disease or its co-infection. And so some of your symptoms, they might be actually related to Lyme or its co-infection. And let's talk about some of this. So Lyme can, and these other bugs can actually affect multiple organs in your body, including your reproductive organs, your thyroid, your brain, your heart, muscles, joints, back, neck, and your digestive tract, just to kind of name a few. So some people, when they get infected, they can wind up having memory issues or brain fog or poor concentration. They can develop mental health issues such as anxiety and depression. You can wind up with thyroid issues, Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism, unexplained nodules or goiters. I've had three of my patients with heavy bleeding, like to the point where like they're talking hysterectomy type bleeding, lots of blood clots, lots of just really bad periods, was actually from Lyme. So I muscle tested these patients, and believe it or actually it was Bartonella, which is a co-infection of Lyme, and my patients wound up having severe bleeding. And so we muscle tested, and we found through the muscle testing that they had Bartonella. And handling that, one of my patients was bleeding for 2 months solid before she came in to see me. And I was actually surprised about this. I was not expecting this to kind of happen. But so she came in, we did the initial consultation, and I was muscle testing her, and she was coming up for Bartonella and actually parasites actually in her uterus, and started her on supplements right away. And within 2 days, she actually literally called me. And within 2 days, the bleeding actually started slowing down. And before 1 week, the bleeding was completely gone. And she actually started passing out parasites already. But I've seen this in a lot of my patients, especially with really heavy bleeding and cramping, and not being able to stop bleeding. Bartonella showed up in several of my patients. So because it can cause hormonal imbalances. Lyme can cause heart complications, including, so your heart is an electrical system. And when the heart is not sending electrical impulses properly, you can get what's called heart blocks. So it's first degree heart block, second degree heart block, third degree, and if it hits fourth degree, you're like in big doo-doo. And we're really looking at pacemakers even beforehand, right? So, but that could actually be from Lyme. Also, if the Lyme disease is affecting your thyroid, the thyroid actually controls heart rate and rhythm. So Lyme disease can cause headaches, dizziness. So if you feel dizzy and you don't know why and they don't have a reason, it could actually be from Lyme disease. Um, any joint ache and body ache, or even fibromyalgia can actually be from Lyme. The funny thing is I've actually, several of my patients with fibromyalgia and neuropathy also have heavy metals too. I've seen that in combination. So heavy metals and Lyme with neuropathy and fibromyalgia type pain. Digestive issues, IBS type symptoms, nausea, unexplained nausea, for no reason, acid reflux, but primarily nausea and IBS type symptoms or unexplained vomiting, like you just throw up, you're not sure why. They've done tests, they can't find anything wrong with you. So muscle soreness. You can even wind up with sleeping problems from Lyme disease as well. So lots of different symptoms. And my point is that, there's always an underlying cause of why we have symptoms. Western medicine is good for a lot of things, but it also misses the boat on quite a few things as well. And what we want to do is we want to really get to the root cause of why you have your symptoms in the first place. I don't want to just give you a Band-Aid. I think people in general are tired of getting Band-Aids for their symptoms. If you stop the medication, so people think that, if you're given a medication and the symptom goes away, that it cured the thing or they cured the symptom or whatever. Well, what if I take that medication away? Does your symptoms come back? Most of the time it does. So did that medication really heal you, or is it just masking the symptoms and putting a Band-Aid on the problem? Think of like, I don't know, think of like a boil or like, like an infected, like something under the skin that was infected. You have an open wound, it gets infected, but that open wound forms a scab. Just because it's not open anymore, did it really take care of the infection under that scab? Or do you still have that infection? It just doesn't look like it because now there's a scab formed. That's kind of how I think of Western medicine in a way. And sometimes we need Band-Aids, right? Sometimes you have to kind of, like if you have a leaky faucet, like I like to use leaky faucets. Let's say it's in the middle of winter and a pipe bursts or a pipe starts leaking, right? And, I don't know about you guys where you live, but in the Chicagoland area, it gets mighty cold up here sometimes. And, sub-zero Arctic, we've had Arctic weather a couple times and pipes freeze and they burst in this area. So, and when that happens, the plumber is very, very backed up. And so the pipe freezes and now it starts leaking, or you got a pipe burst and plumber's backed up, and now what do you do? Because you're going to have water all over the place. So depending on how bad the leak is, if it's just, minor dripping, then you can get like, waterproof tape and kind of tape it up or whatever, to kind of slow it down a little bit, put a bucket underneath it, tape it up a little bit, and you're waiting for the plumber to come. So it kind of slows things down. Well, that's how I kind of view medication. And sometimes you need that because if you're in a serious condition, you kind of have to put a Band-Aid on things in order for us to slow down the leak, right? Until the plumber can actually fix it. Because sometimes it takes a while. So healing can sometimes it's a bit of a journey. It can sometimes takes a while. It can take a while. It's not an overnight fix. Now, like I said, the one patient who the bleeding stopped so quickly, I was actually kind of amazed by how quickly that stopped. But does that mean that she's out of the woods and all of a sudden she's miraculously healed? No, because she's going to probably have ups and downs with her symptoms, even though it got better pretty quickly. True healing takes a while. So there can be this back and forth, up and down thing for a little bit while your body's readjusting and while it's trying to heal and things like that. So sometimes a Band-Aid is needed until the healing can actually take place. Your cells are replicating routinely. Liver cells live for 300 to 500 days. Your heart cells live for about 4.5 years. Your blood cells, 90 days. So what we want to do is we want to get, like, let's say you have a liver. Let's say your liver is congested. Even if you have normal labs, let's say your liver's congested in some way. What kind of symptoms does that look like? Headaches, maybe you have anger issue, because in Chinese medicine, a lot of organs will hold emotions. Liver is notoriously or known to hold anger. So sometimes people who are very angry all the time or very hot-headed, their liver can be congested or not functioning optimally. Skin issues such as psoriasis, eczema, dermatitis. And yes, by the way, you can actually turn around and have Lyme in your liver, and you can wind up having parasites in your liver as well. So, but you can wind up with psoriasis and eczema from a congested liver. You can wind up with allergies and asthma with a congested liver, and you can wind up with several headaches because the liver cannot process toxins. Liver helps to break down histamine and break down toxins. So if you have these symptoms, you might not get any results or see an improvement of some of these symptoms for 300 to 500 days, because that's how long liver cells live. So what we want to do is we want to find out, well, why is the liver upset in the first place? And then, okay, let me see. All right, that seems to be working. I had an issue on my Instagram camera. So we want to find out, well, why is the liver congested in the first place? Is it toxins? Is it Lyme? Is it parasites? What's the underlying cause? And then start removing that by using whole food supplements, herbal supplements, homeopathic, and then give nutritional support for the liver. So that way we can remove what's damaging the liver cells and give nutritional support. So that way when the liver cells, the damaged cells die and they can replicate a healthier version of themselves. And when that occurs, that's when your symptoms start improving. But that can take a while. So again, we want to find out, well, why do you have your symptoms? And Lyme disease can cause a lot of these things because it can affect many different organs, which can lead to many different symptoms. So if you have any of these symptoms, like I said, sleeping issues, depression, anxiety, stress, dizziness, lightheadedness, memory, concentration, headaches, brain fog, brain fatigue, generalized fatigue, hormonal or reproductive issues, gut issues, heart issues, thyroid issues, guess what? You might actually have an undiagnosed Lyme disease. And it could be a long-term standing one that you've been maybe from childhood and you didn't even know it. And now it's latent and it's, it's getting worse. And one of the other clues is, have you ever taken an antibiotic and some of your symptoms actually improve? Only after a while, after you stop the antibiotic, do they start coming back? Good possibility that it's from Lyme. Not in all cases, by the way, but in some cases. So if you're in chronic pain and the doctor doesn't know why and they just refer you to a pain clinic or they give you medication, you might want to consider possibly that you have Lyme disease. So even plantar fasciitis, because it can cause burning of the feet too, might be Lyme or it's co-infection. So, and by the way, when they test for Lyme, they do blood work and they look for antibodies. And sometimes your body doesn't produce the antibodies. It doesn't mean that it wasn't infected. It just never produced the antibodies. So it's not going to show up in blood work. Or you've had it so long that you don't have any more antibodies. That doesn't mean you don't have Lyme disease anymore. It just means that you don't have the antibodies to it anymore because you can run out of the antibodies. So blood work is not a very efficient way for diagnosing Lyme disease in all cases. And what I love is one of the companies that I use, Cellcore, actually has great products that help get rid of Lyme disease naturally. And a lot of people start feeling really, really good and they start feeling better. Their hormones are better. They have better cycles. They don't have as heavy bleeding. Their joint pain is less. Their skin is less. Their brain fog is better. They don't have as many headaches. Okay. Their thyroid issues, their gut issues improve. They just generally feel a heck of a lot better. So if you think that you actually might have Lyme or you want to know more about it, don't hesitate to give us a call, 708-554-6730. Go look into it for yourself. So don't just say, if you have symptoms, don't just stop there and take a pill to get rid of the symptom. Let's get to the underlying cause. If the doctor says that they don't know why, then maybe it's time that you seek some alternative therapies because there's an underlying cause of why you have your symptoms. Just because Western medicine can't find it doesn't mean there isn't a reason. Hope that helps. Have a good night, guys.